Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. And I was just having a conversation with my wife, Jana, last night and then today about why she was unable to find a World War I draft card for an individual that she knew was in Europe and in the United States Army, in the American Expeditionary Force. And she had the expectation that there should be a draft card. She couldn't find one. And then she got into a conversation with a cousin of hers about he had seen the draft card. And that didn't work out because he couldn't find the draft card. So what do you think the circumstances are when you can't find a draft card in World War I? Well, the first thing is they didn't register for the draft because they were either too young or too old. Well, this guy was neither too young or too old. He was eligible for the draft because he was 29 and a half when he enlisted. And the first draft, which was, well, let's back up for a minute. The Selective Service Act was enacted on 18 May 1917. Okay? The first draft was not long after that. It was 5 June 1917, and everybody between the ages of 21 and 30 were to register for the draft. And this was Form 1. And in fact, beaucoup people did, 9.5 million or so, of which 25% or 2.4 million were actually inducted. So those individuals under the draft, the first draft, which was 5 June 1917, they have draft cards. And those draft cards are on Ancestry. So the second draft was 5 June 1918, and basically it's still 21 to 30, except now all those 20-year-olds have become 21, so they are eligible, and they, on 24 August 1918, they added some more. In other words, those people in that 2-month range between June and August, almost 3 months, between June and August, they added those. So the first one on 5 June, which was the second draft, 21 to 30-year-olds, 736,000. The second draft of the second draft, still Form 1, but it's Form 1 blue, was on 24 August 1918, and again 21 to 30-year-olds. They've picked up a couple of more months of 21-year-olds now, so that's 158,000, and they inducted 25%, or 267,000 people. Then on 12 September they had another draft. This was again in 1918, and they drafted the 18 to 21-year-olds and the 31 to 45-year-olds for a total of 13.2 million people. But they only inducted about 1% of those because by November the war was over. So they inducted about 120,000. So we have all these people being inducted, about, 3 million, not quite 3 million being inducted. But here we have people that don't have draft cards. And lots of people think that everybody should have draft cards. Well, the issue is that if you were already in the Army prior to 5 June 1917, you don't have a draft card. And the person that my wife was interested in enlisted in April of 1917. So he was already over in France, or about to go to France. I don't know whether he was in France yet. But he doesn't die. He dies in France not long after he arrives. So he doesn't have a draft card because he's already in the military. So there are almost 1 million soldiers who don't have draft cards. I think the number's more like 909,000. 527,000 of those are in the regular Army, and 382,000 of those are in the National Guard. For the most part, these are people who were either in the Guard when the war broke out, in the regular army when the war broke out, or they enlisted prior to 5 June 1917. Now, you can always tell if somebody was already in Europe early in the war. In other words, they didn't wait to get to Europe. They got to Europe as soon as they could, kind of thing, although they, of course, went by units. And you can look at these people on Ancestry and Fold 3 and in the outgoing manifests. Not the incoming. Those are those coming back to the States. But you can also look at their service numbers, because service numbers don't get issued until February, March of 1918. So if they're already in Europe by February or March of 1918, they have a very low service number. So this guy, I think his name was McGinnis, his service number was in the 39,000s. Whereas most people you see going over there, they're in the millions. So, that said, don't expect to find a draft card for everybody. You must look. If you don't find one, remembering that a draft card is not proof of service, but if you don't find one, the next thing you're going to look for is what's his age, and does he in fact meet the criteria of 21 to 30 or 18 to 45, depending on which draft. And then you're going to ask the question is he already in the service? Is he already in the Army? Is he already in the National Guard? Is he already in the Navy? Is he already in the Marine Corps? Now, there will come a point in the war where you can't enlist. You can only be drafted. Because what was happening is everybody was enlisting in the Marine Corps or the Navy, so they didn't have to go to Europe, because there were very few Marines in Europe, just a couple of regiments. And there were, and some others. And, of course, the Navy just had a few 14-inch guns in Europe. The rest was all aboard ship. So, I think we may today have covered the question of why can't I find a draft card, and provided all the reasons. If you can come up with another reason, put it in the chat below, and we'll talk about it at some point. So this is Craig. This has been Just Genealogy, where we're converting people doing genealogy into genealogists day by day. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Please like this, or not. Please tell your friends. Hit that notification bell. You guys know what to do by now. This is like video number 183 or something. I'll tell you, 20 minutes ago, I didn't know what I was going to be talking about today. And then I got some chat asking me about, when was the first draft. So I took it from there. That's what I do. You ask me a question, I'll convert it into a video along with answering the question. Usually I won't force the people who ask me the question to come and see the video to get the answer. Unless the video is already up. You don't know how many times I've told people, I did a video on that. Y'all have a good day. Oh, and I'm supposed to tell you from my wife that everything she knows about World War I she learned from me. I don't believe that's true, but that's what she said. And her latest note from me says, and you're welcome for the idea. Well, thank you very much, Jana. Thank you.